I get a feel for these guys as far as what they know and how they think about the game, and it really gives me a head start on what they know as far as how they know the game. And obviously some kids come in and they know it a little bit more than the others. Some people just do, real basic block-up schemes. Some have pro-style systems in high school, so that has something to do with it. But I would say all these kids that we have a real good sense of the game and front ID and linebackers and blitzes, and that helps them too.
And you've only seen so far Bosch and Tully Tillman, and you're not going to learn a lot about these kids until they come in the fall, but is the plan to kind of keep that trend of redshirting the big guys going?
Well, you always hope to do that. And, with 6 coming in, I've told them all to come in with the idea that you won't redshirt. I don't like guys coming in thinking, well, I'm going to redshirt, and then they get into coast mode. You want them thinking, there's a chance, and you want to approach it that way just so they'll push their workouts and prepare themselves. Because most of them will have a real chance to be on the travel squad, be in that 10 or 11 that go. And every one of those guys that goes on the travel squad has to know the game plan, has to pass the Friday night test, has to practice, against the scout team. And because of that, they have to prepare as if they're going to play. But at the end of the day, if you play 1 or 2 because they're ready, fine. But if you redshirt them all and all of a sudden you have, some real depth and some quality depth, and then most importantly, competition, then you got what you want.
Darrell, obviously you guys realized pretty quickly when you got here that your position was somewhat needing upgrading. And so I guess the numbers reflect that, at least in the last 2 years. What's it, 4? It's almost 10 guys or something like that.
10.
Yeah. So when do you feel so much different now about your group and what you have? I mean, because you have the guys that you've targeted and acquired, I guess.
Well, yeah, and let me kind of backstep. When we got here, the numbers weren't what you wanted, and the sheer size and strength and different things weren't what we're going to have one day. Obviously, you had 2 All-Americans in that group, with Moak and Taylor, now Taylor coming back. So you had some real quality kids, but we just lacked some competition, some true competition, just because of sheer numbers or guys that were ready to play. There were a couple voided classes, if you look at that, and we just had to catch up that way. But to answer your question now, we have a room that has some guys in there that, we got the 2 senior tackles, and then you've got a log jam inside. I honestly couldn't tell you who's going to be the guys, and that's a good thing. And then what will happen is as they push each other and they compete, and then, down the road, the 2 senior tackles will go, so someone will be, we're going to have a lot of fun. These guys are going to play a lot of football. And our numbers are going to be healthy within another couple of years. They'll be right where we want.
Is it possible that there'll be some positional changes in there? The guys will get tackle guard, maybe guard to center.
I think there has to be. And I've told, I've had, it's 19 or 20 guys that have had the NFL opportunity. And the reason I bring that up is because almost all those guys started at a position other than what they ended up being. I had a guy that plays with the Raiders once in Indy, and he started at a guard and became the tackle after a guy left. So you got to have to do that. But the thing I tell the kids all the time, the best 5 will play. If a rotation is deemed necessary or deserved, I'm not a huge rotation guy in terms of having 2 guys play a certain position and just keep going, because I think you miss something in one series that you see in the next, you know what I'm saying? But if that's the deal, that's fine. But the best 5 will play. That means I have 5 tackles on the field and I train someone to snap, or 5 inside guys out. I don't care. Best 5 will play.
We haven't seen you since Taylor decided to come back. Obviously, his talent is worth immense amounts. But for you, and stability-wise, to know that you have the tackles, does that change so many things? Because Mike would have had to maybe move, and then you would have shuffled and stuff. I mean, does it make that much of a ripple effect that way too?
Absolutely. I mean, forget the talent for a second that he has, and he's a proven player, and then you're going to get the leadership from him, and the game experience, and all those things. But you have a starter there and you have a starter on the other side. Now you're looking to build the inside guys, as opposed to someone, either Mike would have had to move or someone bump out or whatever. No, absolutely. And I think that having Taylor back and having Mike Schofield, who I think is due for a great year this year, having those 2 guys there and then just having to build the inside with some real talented kids, I think we're right where we want to be.